Bring in the instrumental Rasta.
Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange.
Big rally Monday. Noon, high noon, Martin Place. We're going to free Julian Assange. If you don't know...
Journalism is not a crime. Free Julian. He's probably getting fined for stating job committed. Free Julian Assange. His trial is free Julian Assange. Free Julian. Don't let him be extradited to the United States. He's going to become a partner. Oh, did you?
So the big rally starts on Monday, 12 o'clock noon. We've got some great speakers flown in from England. We've got great speakers from all over Australia.
Free Julian Assange.
Take one of these, boys. Take it home, show someone. Journalism is on trial here. It really is.
Freedom is on trial.
That too. They're all part of the same package, right? Journalism is freedom. Freedom for us to know. That's what it means, right? That's why they want him in jail for 175 years. Can you believe that? Someone can go to jail for 175 years for telling the truth. Where does that happen in the world?
Free Julian Assange. Extradition hearing next Monday. It's going to be a big rally, 12 p.m. Martin Place. Come join us.
Put on your
Stand up for freedom and truth. Freedom of speech.
Evening reading.
It's not just about Julian Assange, it's about all of us. Freedom of speech.
That's the way.
Stand up against government corruption and war crimes. Free Julian Assange.
Don't go with the time. You have to swing against it.
I was the one who started doing this take a little while. Drop it, baby.
Hi everyone, so we're here to talk about Julian Assange and to share with you that at the moment this fantastic journalist, publisher, man of integrity, honesty, a man who has told us about the war crimes that are being committed in our names are committing war crimes like the US, and he's told us about it. And because he has done so, because he has our lives, walking around here, talking to others, sharing, doing exercises, all that we find so normal during the time in the title. And why? Simply because he dared publish information to the people very much in England. So he's a way to extradition, will be independent. He said like any publisher, like any journalist, a man with integrity has published that information, then he's being penalized brutally with years and years of persecution. So Julian Assange, a man of Australia, a man who has dedicated his life to truth and to being a voice for others who are not able to speak for themselves, a voice against injustice, a voice against crimes. But what are we doing? We're keeping Julian Assange in prison. He has not committed any crimes. He's a journalist. He is an awarded journalist. And we need to bring him back home. We need to bring Julian Assange back home. And so we have about 130 personalities from Germany who have written a letter saying exactly the same. What's going on? Why is Julian Assange in prison now? Why isn't Mr. Morrison doing anything about it? We have Amnesty International calling for his release, immediate release. We have the European Commissioner for Human Rights calling for his immediate release. We have more than 1,300 journalists around the world calling for Julian Assange's release. We have also the Civil Liberties Council in Australia. We have barristers calling for Mr. Julian Assange's release from Australia. We have the Greens. The Greens are on board. They're helping. That's good. We have a whole lot of other individuals who are helping. This morning I listened to Alan Jones. And Alan Jones was saying that this is disgraceful. I was very surprised about that, but that is the truth. The truth. It is disgraceful, and we want Julian Assange back in Australia. So many people now have confirmed that Julian Assange is a political prisoner in the UK. He is a pawn in a game of powerful countries, vindictive countries who are trying to silence the right to free expression, who are trying to cause fear in all of us so that we don't keep our governments accountable. So that's what we're doing here. We're talking to you, letting you know what's happening, telling you that on Monday his extradition hearing commences, and inviting you all to an incredible meeting with about 10 Australian personalities amongst medical practitioners, psychologists, journalists, documentary filmmakers, musicians, people representing Amnesty International, professors from university, and a whole lot of other people who will be this disgraceful extradition request is going on. So please join us on Monday. It is at Martin Place. There's a number of organizations behind that activity, that protest. It is part of a global movement of protest calling for Assange's freedom. It is at 12 midday, Monday coming on the 24th of February at Martin Place. Please come along and tell the government that you want Julian Assange back in Australia.
Ecuador had a deal with the International Monetary Fund in the month prior to his forced removal from the Ecuadorian embassy. The IMF basically gave Ecuador $6 billion in exchange for the removal of his protection as an asylum seeker in Ecuador. He became an Ecuadorian citizen in the time that he had stayed in the embassy.
Down with US imperialism!
7 years he was there, right? He was in there for 7 years. He became an Ecuadorian citizen. And Ecuadorian citizenship, like Australian citizenship, counts for nothing. That's what that reveals.
Free Julian Assange, extradition hearing, Monday. It's going to be a big rally, Martin Place, 12 p.m. Come join us. Stand up for free speech.
Prevent his extradition to the United States. He cannot be allowed to be extradited. He's already facing 75 years in prison for revealing war crimes, for reporting on the truth. They're criminalising journalism. We can't allow this to occur.
Free Julian Assange!
Yeah. It was like reading for you.
Can I say something else? Oh, yeah.
Well, everyone, just want to remind you that Monday, noon, high noon, a man facing not just a bunch of gangsters, but facing a lot of corrupt and negligent governments, including our own. So Mr. Assange is off to court to be extradited to America for crimes that don't exist, and he will be probably spend the rest of his life in prison unless we Australians, we Britons, we Americans, we French, we Chinese, we people from all parts of the world work together, fight together to get a free and democratic press for the whole planet.
So bring Julian Assange home, stop this senseless and vengeful extradition.
Julian Assange has let us know about these crimes. It is now incumbent upon us to stop these wars. And the only way we're going to stop these wars is by saying no. We will no longer fight these wars. We will no longer fund these wars. But the first thing we've got to do is get the truth seeker out of jail. We are associated with these war criminals. We need to stop this right now. The only way to stop it is by getting Julian out of jail and getting the truth in front of everybody and stopping these wars. These wars must end. These wars are being fought for profit-making purposes only. There is nothing more or less to these wars. It is about a handful of men making huge profits from fossil fuels and from weapons. Civilization is at a turning point. The 2020s are going to go down in history as a critical time. And what happens in the next few years is going to affect the Earth forever. We need to act now. We all know the damage that's being done to our environment. We can see that. But worse than the damage being done to our environment is the damage being done to our reputation. We are the bad guys. We need to stand up and say, stop! Stop these crimes and let Julian Assange out of jail. And let's hold this man up high as a hero who has had the courage to stand up to these war criminals. Thank you.
Any of you guys out there value free speech? Any of you people out there believe governments should be accountable to we the people? Of course. Any of you out there believe that government should be putting people in prison without charges on remand? No. Julian Assange has been banged up for 10 years on entirely fabricated charges. They haven't tabled any evidence that's credible whatsoever, and now they're saying they want to take him to America, where he'll probably end up in a military prison for the rest of his life for letting the people know what we ought to know about foreign policy. It's our right and it's our duty to make sure our government behaves in a credible and a decent manner that we the people support.
Independent member for Clark and stated in Parliament recently, if Assange is indeed extradited to the US, he faces serious human rights violations, including exposure to torture and a dodgy trial. And this has serious implications for freedom of speech and freedom of the press here in Australia. Because if we allow a foreign country to charge an Australian citizen for revealing war crimes, then no Australian journalist or publisher can ever be confident that the same thing won't happen to them. This man is Australian. He is not American, and he wasn't in the US when he spoke out about the war crimes. Put simply, Julian Assange must be allowed to return to Australia.
I say this to the Prime Minister of Australia and the Leader of the Opposition regarding Julian Assange. Do not get cold feet. Thank you. And be at the rally on Monday, this coming Monday the 24th at 12 noon, or tomorrow at Parramatta Town Hall at 12 noon. There'll be a Julian Assange rally there too. Thank you.
Thank you.
The work of a journalist does not come under the Espionage Act or any such law. Prior to being moved to Burma's prison, Mr. Assange spent more than a year under house arrest and then 7 years inside the Ecuadorian embassy.
Julian Assange.
Julian Assange's bedroom, in the bathrooms in the embassy, underneath fire extinguishers around the embassy. They recorded and videotaped all of Assange's meetings. They collected information on every visitor Assange had during those years. The cell phones of American journalists who visited Julian Assange, they broke into those visitors' laptops. They downloaded their contents to a server, and they gave unrestricted and remote access to that server to the CIA. The CIA had every single bit of information, conversation that Assange had for 3 years in the Ecuadorian embassy.
We all know what sensible justice is, and we all ought to know that we all have a responsibility to stand up for anybody in this country or anyone in the world who's been unjustly treated. It's only the people standing up en masse that will bring about justice for other people. If we don't stand up for justice for other people, we won't get it ourselves. You stop and think about it. If some of these people could invade a foreign country and kill 1.5 million people, do you think they'll care about killing you too? So you better wake up. You better start saying to our government, they better listen to us. And they better start doing the right thing by people in Australia and other Australian citizens and other people all over the world, because it reflects on us as Australian citizens, it reflects on our global standing. Every single thing that goes on in this country, if our government does evil, it reflects on us.
In the wake of World War II, a German man of the clergy, Martin Niemöller, he wrote a poem, and I'll try to recite it as best as I can. And it's an allegory of what happened to the Jewish people in World War II, but it's something that can be applied today in our modern world. And he starts off by saying, first they came for the socialists, but because I wasn't a socialist, I didn't speak up. Then they came for the communists, and because I wasn't a communist, I didn't speak up. Then they came for the Jews, and because I wasn't Jewish, I didn't speak up. Then they came for me, and by that time, there was no one to speak up for me. They've already got Julian Assange. They went after Edward Snowden. They went after Chelsea Manning, who's still in prison. They went after Max Blumenthal for revealing American crimes in Venezuela. They went after Anika Smethurst, an Australian journalist who reported on crimes committed by Australians in Afghanistan. They went after Dan Oakes and his colleague, Mr. Sam Cooke, I believe. They went after journalists who told the truth. And if you think that Julian Assange is just a case out of blue water, you have to think again. A whole litany of journalists and truth tellers have been punished, have been criminalised. They are criminalising journalism. And so therefore, the defence of Julian Assange is your defence. You think Iraq was just an aberration? Iraq was not an aberration. They are planning more crimes, even greater crimes, and they can't allow the truth to be publicised, to be known by the public. The truth is our friend, but it is also a weapon. The pen is mightier than the sword, people. It's time for all of you to take it up. Free Julian Assange. Come along to Parramatta Town Hall tomorrow around midday and Martin Place on Monday. Truth is our freedom. We need to speak it. We need our voices. We need to put them in action. Ask yourself this question. Where is George Bush today? Do you think he's in prison? Where is Tony Blair today? Do you think he's in a jail cell? Do you think Hillary Clinton, do you think she's on trial? Do you think Donald Trump is on trial? What about Barack Obama and his bombings of Libya and Syria? Is he on trial? All of those people, including Dick Cheney, where's he? Is he in a prison cell facing charges of war crimes? No, all of those people are free. And not only that, they're laughing every way to the bank. They're laughing all the way to the bank. But the people who revealed their crimes, they're not free. They're all in a prison or dead or in exile. You work that one out. That should be your starting point, people.
Just this morning, Alan Jones, he had yesterday actually, he put on a poll on Facebook about, whether people are for or against Julian Assange. And by this morning it was taken down. At the time it was 74% in favour of people standing up for Julian Assange, saying that the government should do something about bringing him back home. And but this morning it was taken down by Facebook. So
was due to run for another 6 days.
Yeah, it was due to run another 6 days. And even this morning on 2GB, Alan Jones, he gave Julian Assange a really good rap as well on his program. So yeah, thanks for Alan Jones.
How do you like that? This week in the High Court of Australia, the judge found in favour of the government against the ABC journalists, particularly Dan Oates and his what's his name? Sam Cole? I forget Sam Cole. But the judge found in favour of the government against the journalists for publishing on those Afghani files, right? The crimes committed in Afghanistan.
David McBride.
Yes. And they wouldn't have been able to do that if Julian was free. If Julian was free, they couldn't get away with something like that.
Yeah, true.
But he's been made an example of, and they're writing it all the way down the line.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I couldn't believe that. That's ridiculous.
Well, they found that they can get away with it, so they're doing it.
Yeah. They don't care for normal legal processes. What we consider to be legal, what we consider to be impartial, that the evidence should be presented in an impartial fashion and decided upon by an arbiter, in this case a judge, to be completely free of the corrupt process. And that was broken this week once again in the High Court in Canberra. And the only reason why they can do that, the only reason why the High Court in Australia can feel they can do that is because the governments around the world are acting with impunity. They have punished Julian Assange, and there isn't the pushback by the world public in sufficient numbers, in sufficient quality, i.e. revolutionary quality. There isn't sufficient pushback by the world public on those two counts, quality and quantity, to be able to force that judge's decision. And that's the problem. The problem is we need to wake the people up. At the end of the day, right, if new crimes are being committed, the true passage of justice is in the overthrow of the capitalist system, because these people will not respond in the legal fashion through normal channels of decision making. It's a revolutionary question. We've arrived at that point in history. Tomorrow, Parramatta Town Hall, and Monday, Martin Place.
12 p.m. Monday.
Midday, Martin Place, Monday, and tomorrow, Parramatta Town Hall, around the same time. Now, midday. Bring Julian Assange. Bring your friends, bring your mothers, bring your fathers, bring your sisters, bring your cousins, bring your nieces and nephews. Bring them all along. Bring them along.
they're doing in the job. That's my view.
Monday, place around the same time, midday. Free Julian Assange. Come along. Make yourself present. You know the Lancet report, they came out in defence of Julian Assange. This was the Lancet report is the publication of the British Medical Association. And this week they sent a letter to the British government demanding that Julian Assange his healthcare needs be taken care of. They didn't call for his freedom. They just called for, from a purely health and medical point of view, they demanded that his healthcare needs be protected, because they recognise that what is happening to him is tantamount to torture.
I think it's going to happen as long as they can manage to claw onto light.
My friend, look at these wonderful people. They're coming from Australian community, Chilean communities.
Oh,
Support Julian Assange.
yep. Very good, very good.
And Steve comes from Wollongong.
You come from Wollongong?
Every Friday he does all of this, and he puts on a video on Facebook. YouTube.
Oh God, YouTube? How I look? Your video.
It's Gong. If you search for Gong Steve, you'll see lots of these videos.
You need the knowledge as well, right? You need.
I know.
What I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want all these long sentences. I was just reading long sentences. I just want to like talking or something.
At the end of the day, you know what it is, Steve. It's clarity. Clarity is far more valuable than anything else.
It's the most important thing in marketing. Clarity.
Substance over style. Clarity. Make it clear to people. It's what Abraham Lincoln said, right? He said, not only do I have to make the case, I have to demonstrate for people that the only possible conclusion is what I'm stating. Make it absolutely clear. That's what power and knowledge. If it embodies the human mind, that's what it allows them to do.